They move differently, not because they're special, but because they made a decision long ago, a decision most people never make. Not a decision to be great, but a decision to refuse to be average. That's where it starts. Not in the spotlight, not with applause, not with opportunity, but with standards. Quiet ones, internal ones, ruthless ones. Because the great ones don't live by mood, they live by principle. They don't wait to feel like it. They do it because they said they would. That's the game changer. That's the fork in the road most never even see. And while the world chases motivation, the great ones build systems. While the crowd asks, what's the secret? They're doing reps in silence, stacking discipline brick by brick, because they know something you might have forgotten. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your habits. And habits don't form overnight. They're forged in the fire of decision plus repetition belief. The great ones aren't faster, luckier, or smarter. They're more consistent, more deliberate, more aligned with who they said they'd become. They don't negotiate with weakness, they confront it, then they outgrow it. And that's the mindset that separates men from boys, champions from chasers, builders from dreamers. Because one hard truth will always remain. Average costs too much. It costs time. It costs peace. It costs potential. When you really break it down, success isn't complicated. It's just hard. It's waking up and doing the hard thing even when the easy thing is screaming your name. It's looking in the mirror and asking, am I living according to my values, or am I just surviving according to my habits? See, the great ones don't have more time. They just use it better. They don't fit in the work. They build their life around it. They protect their focus like a kingdom under siege. Because they understand this, the battle is not against the world, it's against distraction, against comfort, against compromise. That's the battlefield most people never step onto. But the great ones, they charge it daily, and they don't need the world to notice. Because greatness, real greatness, isn't about praise. It's about process. It's about waking up with purpose, even when no one is clapping, watching, or caring. Especially then, that's the moment your future self is forged. Not when it's easy, but when no one would blame you for quitting, and you still choose to show up. Want to know how the great ones operate? They keep promises others forget they made. They do what they said they'd do, long after the mood has passed. They train themselves to rise above their own excuses. They build structure before motivation. And they don't need a perfect plan. They need a reason, because purpose is stronger than preference. And when you're driven by purpose, you don't need perfect conditions. You just need to move. Let me remind you of something. Success isn't buried treasure. It's a blueprint. But most people never follow it because it's too boring, too daily, too plain, too uncomfortable. But the great ones, they fall in love with repetition. They turn routines into rituals. They turn effort into identity. Because they're not chasing outcomes. They're becoming someone. And that's the truth no one wants to hear. Success isn't about what you get, it's about who you become. Because once you become someone, the results become inevitable. You don't have to force success. You attract it by the person you've disciplined yourself to be. That's why the great ones don't chase goals blindly. They chase alignment. They ask, are my actions in harmony with my values? Are my habits pointing to the person I claim I want to be? And if not, they course correct. Immediately. Without emotion. Because they know that every compromise, every shortcut, every delayed decision becomes a vote for the person they never wanted to be. Greatness isn't built in the big moments, it's built in the boring ones. When nobody's watching, when no one's validating you, when it would be so easy to coast. But you don't. Because there's a quiet voice inside you that says, not today. I'm not going backward. I didn't come this far to settle. That voice is your standard, your internal governor. And the great ones, they listen to it louder than any applause. The truth is, discipline is the truest form of self-love. It's saying no to what you want now because you respect who you're becoming later. And that's what separates winners from wishers. The wisher wants ease. The winner wants elevation. Even if it costs comfort, even if it means saying no to friends who play small, even if it means walking alone for a while. Because the great ones understand, success is lonely, but so is regret. And one of them you choose, the other chooses you. So which one are you training for? That's the real question. You're training either way. Every decision you make, every action you take is sharpening a blade. The only question is, are you sharpening your potential or dulling your discipline? Because time will pass either way. The clock doesn't care how you feel. The days don't pause while you figure it out. And your goals? They're waiting on one thing, a version of you that's finally willing to pay the price. The price is responsibility, ownership, integrity, consistency. The price is saying, it's on me, and that's good news. Because once you accept that, you're free. No more blame. No more waiting for someone to rescue you. No more hoping success will come find you. You stop outsourcing your future. And that's where everything changes. Because the great ones don't ask, what if it doesn't work? They ask, who do I have to become to make it work? That's the question that unlocks everything. They don't focus on luck, they focus on leverage. How can I leverage time, leverage energy, leverage learning? They know growth compounds, but so does stagnation. And the greatest danger isn't failure, it's getting good at the wrong things. It's being efficient at things that don't matter. It's climbing a ladder leaned against the wrong wall. But the great ones live by philosophy, a code, a set of first principles. Because you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the strength of your philosophy. And if you don't build one, life will hand you someone else's, the media's, your friends, the culture's, but never yours. And that's the real theft, to live your whole life running someone else's script because you never pause to write your own. So write it. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Build your personal philosophy like your future depends on it, because it does. Ask yourself, what do I believe about work, about growth, about adversity, about time? And then live according to those beliefs, not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's not. That's where transformation begins. When you become the kind of person who does what needs to be done even when it doesn't feel good, because feelings follow standards, not the other way around. And once you build those standards into your identity, no one can take it from you. Because once your identity is built on principle, you don't need hype. You don't need approval. You don't need permission. You're not waiting to be discovered. You're building yourself into someone undeniable. And that takes time. It takes friction. It takes confrontation with your own limits. But the great ones, they welcome the discomfort because they know pressure isn't the enemy. Pressure is the forge. Pressure reveals who's pretending and who's becoming. It separates the talkers from the builders. It shatters illusions and exposes who's real. So when life turns up the heat, the great ones don't fold. They get focused, they get clear, they say, good, now we're getting somewhere. Because comfort was never the goal. Character was, capacity was, conviction was. There's something sacred about building yourself. Day by day, decision by decision, sacrifice by sacrifice, not to impress anyone, not to post about it, but because you know what's at stake. Your future, your freedom, your potential. This is what most people miss. You're not just showing up for today. You're showing up for the version of you 5 years from now who desperately needs you to stay consistent. The version who's counting on you not to quit when it gets quiet, not to slow down when no one notices, not to back off when it starts getting real. And if you betray that version of yourself, no applause can fix it. No success can hide it, because deep down you'll know you left something on the table. But if you hold the line, if you stay the course when it would be easier not to, if you keep showing up even when no one claps, that's how you become legendary. Not famous, not flashy, legendary in your character, in your consistency, in your quiet mastery. The world may never know your name, but you will, and you'll respect it. That's the real goal, to be able to look in the mirror and say, I kept going when I could have quit. I built a life I'm proud of. I didn't just drift, I decided. Because drifting is the default. The algorithm will keep you distracted. The world will keep you numb. But you don't have to join them. You can wake up. You can choose. You can build. You can stand up and say, I refuse to settle for a watered-down version of myself. I refuse to waste another year hoping life gets better without getting better myself. I refuse to wait for permission to rise. That's how the great ones operate. They don't rise by luck. They rise by law. The law of responsibility, the law of effort, the law of preparation, the law of cause and effect. They don't gamble on outcomes. They master inputs, and they know if I control the inputs long enough, the results have no choice but to follow. The problem isn't that people don't want more, it's that they haven't committed to becoming more. You want clarity? Get serious. You want discipline? Start keeping small promises. You want confidence? Earn it through consistency. Confidence doesn't come from hype. It comes from history, your own history of doing hard things. That's how you break the cycle of hesitation, of doubt, of drifting. You build a new track record. You show yourself what you're made of. And that starts today, not next Monday, not when the motivation hits. Now, while it's hard, while it's inconvenient, while it's uncertain, that's what gives it power. And here's the ultimate paradox. The more responsibility you take, the more freedom you gain. The more structure you build, the more peace you feel. The more you commit to the long term, the faster you grow. Because you stop bouncing between shallow efforts and start building deep roots. And when your roots go deep, no storm can shake you. You become unshakable. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. So now we've come full circle. It's not about the applause. It's not about the spotlight. It's not even about success in the way the world defines it. It's about operating like the person you were meant to be. The kind of person whose standards lead them, whose values shape their days, and whose character becomes their compass. Because in the end, the trophies fade, the recognition fades, the excitement fades. But who you became, that lasts. That's the legacy. And that's how the great ones operate. Because one day, you'll look back on this season, not the wins, not the celebrations, but the days you almost quit and didn't. The mornings you got up tired, but still showed up. The nights you felt doubt whispering, but still followed through. You'll remember who you chose to be when no one was watching. And in that memory will live your real reward, self-respect. Not status, not likes, not money, respect. The deep, quiet kind that can't be bought, borrowed, or faked. It only comes from one place, doing the work when no one claps. That's what the great ones know. They know that integrity compounds, that values scale, that effort echoes, and that every small act of discipline is casting a vote for the future they want, not just for themselves, but for everyone who comes after them. Because legacy isn't what you leave, it's what you live. It's who you become when no one else is willing to go that far. So if you hear nothing else, hear this. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not too late. You are standing at the doorway of a decision that most people will never have the courage to make, to choose growth over comfort, responsibility over excuses, discipline over drama, vision over noise, to become someone your future self would thank and your former self wouldn't recognize. This is how the great ones operate. And now, so do you.